I guarantee you this will be the best Amazon online arbitrage video you've ever watched. I've helped over 1,200 people build thriving arbitrage businesses in record time. This is Ferris. He 4x'd his business to 75K a month within 6 weeks of being in my mentorship program. This is Davis, who went from 0 to his first 20K month in 7 weeks. And this is Jose, who went from 0 to his first 53K month in 16 weeks. And I'm going to show you how to do the exact same thing for yourself. So if you're tired of jumping around from YouTube video to YouTube video, still struggling to find profitable inventory consistently and asking yourself, man, how are people even making this work? This is the last video that you'll need to watch. Just make sure you stay until the end. Let's get into it. Step number 1 is an obvious one. You need to have an Amazon seller account. This needs to be the professional account, not the individual account, which is free. The professional account is going to run you about $40 per month. And then Amazon is going to allow you to store your inventory in their warehouses. They're going to handle customer service, returns, fulfillment. You're going to be able to win the buy box, get engaged, and so much more. Your entire business runs off of this back office, which is Seller Central. All you need to do is go to sellercentral.amazon.com, pick the professional seller account, fill out the information. You're going to go through a verification process, and then you are good to go. Now that we have our Amazon account up and running, the next thing is that we're going to need some software before we go and start looking for products. And a quick warning here, guys, I've seen this happen time and time again. People will sometimes come into the arbitrage model, and because they know there's a lower barrier of entry and it's a cheaper way to get started selling on Amazon than if they were to do something like wholesale or private label, they try to go cheap to the max, which means they don't buy any of the necessary software to run this business. So essentially they start buying products blindly, and then this is where they can run into trouble and lose a lot of money in the process. With arbitrage and wholesale, you never have to buy products blindly because we have a software called Keepa. Keepa gives us so much data of the exact product that we want to purchase, which gives us a lot of power when we're making our decisions. Let me give you an example. If we were to go do private label, we would get our data based off of market demand, which means we would get our data based off of how other products are currently doing, what kind of keyword demand there is, how the listings look, and all of these things about how all of the other products are performing. But we will have zero data about how our product will perform because our product doesn't exist. We haven't created it yet. All we have to go off is how are all of these other products that are similar to the product that I want to create, how are they performing? And maybe when I list my product and I do SEO and copy and all of these things, I will be able to take some of that demand away, okay? That is how things work with private label. But with arbitrage and wholesale, because we have the Keepa software, we know the exact data for the exact product that we want to potentially buy. So if we were to go and source this mouse right here, I can tell you by looking at Keepa how fast it sells, how much it sells for, how much it sold for last week, last month, last year, any time in between, how many competitors are on there, how many reviews it has for this exact product that I want to sell. So we never have to go in blind. I'm going to show you a couple of examples of how Keepa works later on in the video, but you 100% need this software in your business. The second software you will need is Selleramp. Selleramp is a profit and loss calculator, so you can enter your buy cost and it will automatically tell you if it's profitable for you or not. You can also spy on other sellers and storefront stock and see if you can find profitable inventory, which we will revisit later on in the video. The third software I recommend is IP Alert. IP Alert will tell you if a product is known for filing IP complaints, and it will show up right on the Amazon listing so that you can either make the decision of I'm going to avoid this or I'm going to take the risk, and it's really up to you. But because I do think that IP issues are more common in arbitrage than in wholesale, this is why I recommend the software. And that is it, guys. In the beginning, this is all that you need to build momentum and get the ball rolling. There are countless softwares on the market, but in the beginning, you want to keep your business as lean as possible for as long as possible. Next is product sourcing. This is where we actually need to go and find profitable inventory that we want to sell. And this is where most people get stuck with arbitrage. And this happens for 3 main reasons. Number 1 is a lack of understanding. They kind of understand it, they get the gist of things, and then they just dive right into product sourcing. But because they have a half-baked idea of what they need to do, they don't get very far. And instead of trying to learn the process, their solution is, let me just dedicate more time, even though I'm not doing it properly. And this doesn't work because they didn't address the root problem to begin with, which was their lack of understanding. This is like if you were to go build a house, you pour concrete and you set the foundation, but then you don't know what to do next. So your solution is, let me just pour more concrete, and that doesn't work, okay? This is the most common reason why people get stuck with arbitrage. The second reason is a bad starting point. They just hop onto Walmart.com or Target.com. These stores don't even have any sales going on today, and they just start randomly combing through the items one by one. They start off in toys, then they go to beauty, then video games, then sports and outdoors, then grocery, and then 3 hours have passed and they haven't found a single product. And then number 3 is just simply inconsistency. At the end of the day, this is just a skill. That's all it is. Just like any other skill that you have in your life, it probably took you time and effort to get you to the skill level that you currently are. This is no different. The more time that you commit to doing this business and the more consistent that you are, the better you're gonna get. The more inconsistent you are, the longer you're gonna stay stuck. Let's address the starting point issue and then we'll get into product sourcing. So a lot of times if you can solve the starting point issue, then you can consistently start finding more and more inventory. But when it comes to your starting point, this is incredibly important when you're doing arbitrage because it's all about where is the best place for me to source today? Not where did I source yesterday? What was really good last week? Where is the best place to source today? So let me give you an example. Let's say Walgreens has a buy one, get one sale and Target has nothing. And you have 1 hour that you can dedicate to sourcing. Where would that 1 hour be more wisely spent? Obviously with the store that already has a sale and maybe we can stack some cash back, a discount gift card, maybe coupons, manufacturer margin of some kind, right? But the point is that we already have a head start with the Walgreens sale. It's all about increasing the likelihood of us finding profitable inventory. So if we already go where there's a sale or a really high cash back or whatever it may be, we're starting with an advantage. We're starting with the head start. So our chances of finding inventory are much higher than if we were to go to Target that has nothing going on right now, no cash back, nothing really special that we can go and capitalize on. So keep that in mind. Before you start sourcing the next time, just ask yourself, where am I starting from? And am I setting myself up for success? Now let's get into product sourcing so I can show you exactly how to do this. Like I said, there's a lot of different ways to get started. This is the way that I like. So we're gonna start with a brand from the Auto Ungate list, which I will provide to you guys down below in the description. It's over 200 brands that are auto ungated. And then once you go from there, you can start with those auto ungated brands so that you can start finding inventory and not just looking for those big brands that you know are probably gated. So we're going to start with 32 degrees and keep in mind guys, not everything is going to be ungated for you in that list. So we're going to go here and then we're going to find a listing with a few sellers. Now, when you're going about this doesn't mean that it's only 3, 4, 1 sellers. Like if you click on this, you'll be able to see that there are multiple sellers because this is just picking up the FBA sellers. Okay. So just keep that in mind. So we're going to go to this listing right here. Now, I haven't done any research on this particular listing, but because I know this 32 degrees is auto ungated for a lot of people, then that's where we want to start, right? And we're going to come down here and we're going to go straight to the sellers. Now, when we're looking at sellers to storefront stock, ratings are important. You don't want to storefront stock somebody who has, massive amounts of ratings like this guy right here. Pulse Uniform has over 11,000 ratings because they're going to be a really massive seller who's doing a lot of volume and probably going to have prices that you can't really compete with. So we want to look at sellers who have a smaller amount of ratings, like this one's 16, even 200, even if they have none. When they have none or when they have like sub 10, those are good storefronts to stock because they're going to find easy to find inventory that then you can go and capitalize on. But also they're probably going to have a lot of brands that may be auto ungated for you because if they're brand new and you're brand new, they're finding some brands that they're able to sell and you can go and capitalize on it. All right, so we're going to click on sold by LMN. Now from here, you have a couple of different options. You can either just scroll through all of them right here, or you can pick a category, or you can pick a specific brand. Now, when you would use a specific brand is like, let's say we're ungated in 32 degrees, right? And we're gated in all of these other ones. Well, then we're going to go and filter out for just 32 degrees because we already know that we're ungated and we can source it now. There's no point in going and sourcing, let's say Gap, if we already know that we're gated. We can source for 10 hours a day. We're already gated. We shouldn't even waste our time unless we're going to go and try to get ungated in it. Okay. Now we're just going to go down the list right here. I've already kind of pre-vetted this seller just to save some time. And we're going to go right here to the Arnold Power Rake. Now from here, or even as you go about all of these products, you want to look for prices at your max cost that you could potentially find, right? And you also want to make sure that you're paying attention to their selling price, but also the buy box price more importantly, because they could list at whatever they want. And sometimes you're going to run into sellers who are listing it at these crazy prices and they're not even close to the buy box. So there's no point in us trying to source from that. Okay, we want to get somebody who's has a good idea of, okay, we need to have our price to be competitive in order for us to source it at that price point. So we're going to go here to the Arnold Power Rake and we're just going to click on the Google button. and it's going to take us over to Google, and this is where we can see that this product is being offered by a few different people. You can buy stuff from sites like ToolFetch, right? So we'll go here. If you're buying from smaller stores like this, you want to make sure that you're vetting them out. Kind of similar to what we do when we're in wholesale. We're vetting out the suppliers. We're vetting out websites as well with Arbitrage, because there's going to be a lot of websites that pop up. Probably shouldn't be sourcing it from them. But this one is super profitable, $3.54. So if we go here and we click the Amazon button and it brings us up right here, then we can type in $3.54 right here, and we're making about $6 profit per unit. Okay. Now, if we go down here, we can see that it's selling 50 usually, and then now it's selling 100, and the price is actually really steady at this $16 price point. Okay. So $3.54 that we can get it from this smaller known website, but you can also get it from Ace Hardware. So if we go over here to Ace Hardware, we can see that we're getting it for $6.99. We're getting 7% cash back. But if we go over to Cardbear and we look for Ace Hardware, we can see that we can get a 17% discount, 13%, 11%. So we can get a really good discount here, right? So we go back here, and if we're getting a 17% discount from this point right here, then we are going to times it by 83, and we're getting it for $5.80. And then if we get an additional extra cash back, that's always a bonus. But for $5.80, we can come over here and we're still profitable. Okay, we're very profitable. We're making about 70% ROI on a product that has a very steady price point over the last 2 months or so. Okay, so this one would be a winner from here. Now, what you can do from here is you can continue to source this seller right here and see if there's any luck. To save us some time, I've already gone through this seller's storefront. There's not much here. So what we would do is, because we already found this profitable product for us, chances are these sellers are probably going to have more profitable inventory for us to sell, right? And keep in mind, we want to look for some decent amount of ratings that then we can go through, and potentially it's a seller at our level that we can then, source more inventory from. And also, once we start finding sellers who have a lot of inventory that we're finding profitable, you want to save this ID right here, this seller ID, into an Excel spreadsheet so that you can save this storefront so you can refer back to it later on. Now, again, we can go through this just one by one, or we can go into different categories. So let's try something a little different. So we're going to go to grocery and gourmet. And this is what I was talking about earlier, right? So they're priced at 42, but the buy box is 29, right? So they're not even getting any buy box share. And then you can see this right here as well on not this one, but quite a few of them, they're not getting any buy box share. But this one's pretty close. And the buy box is 27. We can get this for 15. And this seems like a pretty reasonable price point that we could probably get this seasoning at. So we'd go to Google, then we're going to go over here to seasoning salt. Now you can also go to the Google shopping button right here if you want, but sometimes things just stick out, and then you go to whatever link you think is going to be profitable. So this one's sold out, so that wouldn't work. So we're going to go down and see if we can get it from a different source. So we'll go here, Big Boy Restaurant, and we have it for $6.99. Now, if we get 6, I think we get a discount. Yeah, so if we get 6, we're getting them for $5 per unit. And this seems to be the exact same product as this one right here. Seems to be the exact same. I think this one's actually a little bit bigger. Yeah, 3.5, but I don't think they're going to complain about getting a little bit more of a quantity for the exact same price that they're paying now. But this looks to be the exact same product. Sometimes they're going to change the packaging because they're just testing out different things. So brands want to see what's going to work more than others. And then that's why you get this little variation in packaging. As long as it's the same product, I personally still sell it. Completely up to you though, depending on how you want to do things. But we're getting it for $5 a unit. So three pack would be $15. That's $3 profit, 21% ROI. And if we come over here, the price isn't horrible. Seller count is increasing, which is why the price is going down. But typically this product actually sells for a little bit more than it's selling now. Because right now it's selling for 27. But it's been selling for 32, 35 in recent history, and it's selling for about 100 units. So there's another profitable product right there. All right, so now we have 2 profitable products. Now let's change things up. So let's go to tools and home improvement. I'm kind of bouncing around just to give you a little variety, but what you want to do is kind of have a little bit more focus than I do. So we're going to open up this guy's storefront a little bit more, and then we'll just start from the top. So 52 bucks, but the buy box is about 40. We would need to get it for half price. So if we go to the Google button right here, we're going to see that we can actually get this at Lowe's. And if we go back to Cardbear, we can type in Lowe's right here, and we can see that we can get 15% off. So then our purchase cost would be about $19.53, not including any cash back that we could potentially get as a bonus. So we come back over here, we open up the Amazon button, and you can see that it's the exact same product. So our purchase cost is $19.53. We enter that, we're making $5 profit right here as of right now. And let's look at the price. So obviously, like we talk about in other videos, if the seller count is increasing, price is going down. But even at this lower price point, we're still making money. And if it ever goes back to a lower seller count, then we're going to be making crazy amounts of profit on this listing right here. But it sells well, selling about 200, 300 times per month right now at this new price point. And yeah, we're making $5 per unit. That's another winner right there. So let's go back to this guy's storefront. We're just going to go through here. Let's look at this one. No buy box, but we would need to get it for half price, and we can find it at Home Depot. Let's double check the listing as well, because it does have a suppressed buy box, and we want to make sure that we're going to be profitable at the current price that the sellers are at. All right, so we want to scroll down here and find the sellers that are winning the buy box. It's probably going to be this guy right here. He is a smaller seller. A little pro tip: once you see somebody dragging the price down, because look, you can see everybody's price a little bit higher. There's one FBM seller and one FBA seller that's really dragging the price. Like the lowest FBA is over by $41. So if you look at this listing, and usually it has like really low ratings, this one's a little bit more experienced, but if you have like 1 rating or no ratings or like 3 ratings, chances are it's a new seller just getting greedy and impatient, and they're just going to sell out. And once they sell out of their limited inventory, because they probably didn't get as much profit as they wanted to because they're tanking the price, then they're probably going to move on, right? And then the price is going to jump right back up here. So just keep that in mind. Potentially these guys sell out, but as of right now, this one's not as profitable as we'd like. So at $30, let's see, what are we going to get it for? So we would get this for $19.98. And this is from Home Depot. So if we go over to Cardbear and we type in Home Depot, then we're getting 12% off. Then we're getting 12% off of this. And also Top Cash Back has 12% off of Home Depot as of right now. So we'd be getting it for $17.58. And then if we include the cash back as a little bonus, then we'd be getting it for $15.46. So we'd be at $15.46, which isn't a lot of margin. Now, could it potentially go back up to this price right here? Yeah, potentially. And then we're making really, really good profit. It just depends on how in stock these guys are. This guy's probably hiding it. This guy's not hiding it as much. But yeah, this would be something to keep an eye on, because if the price does go up right here, then we're making great profit per unit, and it sells well. So something to keep track of. Now let's move on. Let's say we're not going to source that one, but we'll look into this next one right here. And this is the Extendo drain right here. Let's see, right, Home Depot. Since we already found something else from Home Depot, you can see that it's the Extendo drain, $7.98. We're saving 12% on a discount gift card. So we're getting this for $7, not including another 12% cash back if we want to bake that in. But usually I like to take the cash back as bonus, just because you never know. So we're getting this for $7, and we are making 91% ROI, $6 per unit, and the price over the last 3 months has been fairly steady. It doesn't sell crazy fast, but because the profit is good and the price is pretty steady, I would say this one would be worth it as well. And we can see that it's the exact same product right here, so this would be another winner. All right guys, so we found about 4 or 5 different products, and remember, we started off with just typing in a brand that we know that we can sell, and then we would go down the storefront stocking process of those sellers, okay? Now that we have some potential inventory, now we actually need to do product analysis to figure out if this is a good buy or not. And guys, this is where Keepa comes to play. This skill of doing product research is the most important in your business, because it will save you from making bad buys and losing money. It will save you from buying too much inventory of a slow moving product. It will stop you from jumping onto listings that show way too much risk. No joke, this skill can literally make or break your business. business. So just make sure you take the time to really understand it and develop this skill. Now, before I dive into some live examples, I just briefly want to cover one of the main issues that you're going to run into with arbitrage if you're not careful, which is price tanking. There's a couple of things that we can look out for that's going to help us avoid price tanking, but I think price tanking is more prevalent in arbitrage than in wholesale, just because the barrier of entry is lower and the sophistication of the seller is also lower as well in the beginning. We can identify this and reduce our risk significantly. The first thing that we need to look out for is a price spike. This absolutely wrecks new sellers. Okay, so a price spike is like, let's say a product is selling for $50 right now. So within the last 7 days, it's been selling for $50, which is great. We're really profitable at that point, right? But for the last 9 months, it's sold at $20. And then maybe another 6 months before that, it was sold at like $25, but it never really got past that point, and it definitely never got to the $50 price point. The chances of that product going back down to $25 or $20 is extremely high. And if you send your products in FBA, it's going to take a couple of weeks for them to become available for sale. And by that point, the chances of it going back down is pretty high. So you want to be careful here. The second thing you want to look out for is a spike in sellers. Sellers on a listing and the buy box price have an inverse relationship, which means that the more sellers there are on a listing, you can almost just follow it like to a T, that the price starts to go down. So that every single time the seller count goes up, that price goes down because people get greedy. People want to control the buy box. They want to get more sales than everybody else. And then it just turns into a race to the bottom. And because there's so many sellers on the listing, it's not just one person dragging the price down. It's like 10, 20, 30 people racing to the bottom. Okay. Spike in sellers. You want to be careful. Want to make sure that you have enough margin to offset the risk, or you want to stay away from it. The third one is ease of discovery. Let's say you're sourcing at Walmart, Target, Best Buy. Pretty common places for people to source. If it was really easy for you to find that product, like you found it within the first 5 minutes, you didn't really take any effort, the chances of somebody else finding that product is probably pretty high, because if it was easy for you, it's going to be easy for them. And this isn't always the case. This is just something that you want to keep in mind before you commit to going super deep on something. Just really depends on where you're sourcing. So let's say you're sourcing at grocery outlet. The chances of everybody sourcing at grocery outlet and them having the same sale, it's the same exact product and all that stuff is a lot less than if you were to go source on Nike.com or Walmart.com or Puma.com. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now let's jump into my computer and I'm going to show you exactly what this looks like so that we can avoid this. My main goal with this section of the video is just to get you to see some red flags that you can use to protect yourself before you go and place any sort of big orders or any orders whatsoever that could potentially put your account at risk. That is the goal of this section of the video. So I'm going to show you some of those things, but keep in mind there is still a lot of other things that we want to focus on when it comes to Keepa and product research, which I will give you a resource after this section. So let's go ahead and start with this Red Bull Racing shirt right here. And one thing you want to do is when you come down to the Keepa graph, just really briefly, the green chart that you see right here, the green graph, this is the sales rank. This will tell us how fast it potentially is selling. The lower the sales rank, the closer it is to zero, the faster it is selling. The buy box is what it is selling for right now. This could be fulfilled by FBA or fulfilled by FBM, doesn't matter. Whoever is winning the buy box will come out right here. So you can see right under the name where it says Matera Distribution, it says FBA, but if we come over here, it also says FBM. So you'll be able to see who's winning the buy box. Now here in the middle chart is also the sales rank category. We only care about the parent category, which for this shirt would be clothing, shoes, and jewelry. And then down here is the historical data. This is where we're going to see how many sellers are on this listing. You can also see review count and the rating of the listing, but we mainly care about the new offer count. We care about sales rank, and then in some of the other listings that I'm going to show you, it's going to have a few other things that we want to worry about. But what I'm trying to show you here is the seller count spiking. The seller count and the buy box price most of the time will have an inverse relationship, which means as soon as one goes up, the other one is coming down, mainly due to the seller count on the listing. So this is how many sellers are on it, and the price has been holding about $88 and above for most of the year right here, right? But we only get up to about 4 sellers. As soon as we jump up to about 21 to 22 sellers, the price drops significantly down to as low as 43. So the price almost gets cut in half because we see this big spike in sellers that come onto the listing, okay? So keep that in mind. Whenever you're doing product research and you're about to purchase a product, even if you're profitable here, but the seller count continues to keep spiking. So if we were to see it like maybe like this, right? We don't know how much higher this is going to go. When we see this, we can see that it's kind of leveling out right now. But if we don't know how high it's going to go, that means this price will continue to go down. The reason that happens is because people get impatient. There are too many sellers for a product that doesn't sell fast enough. So people get antsy and they want to get their money back, and they will start to drop the price. As soon as one person sees the price dropping, other people are going to join in, and that is how you get tanked prices and you get those price wars that we all want to avoid. Okay, so this is one red flag you want to look out for. Another one is with this Nature's Bounty product right here. You can see that it sells a crazy amount every single month, 50K, but it doesn't matter how fast the product is selling if one, it's not profitable, but two, you're not going to get any buy box share. So here we can see that the last 3 months, Amazon has completely dominated the buy box other than one instance right here. And we can go over to the data tab. We come over to buy box statistics, and we can see that the last 30 days, Amazon has dominated the buy box 99% of the time. Not only are they dominating the buy box, they're doing so even though they're priced almost $2 higher than the next offer there. When you see this, if you were to see Amazon on here and they're priced at, let's say, $10 and everybody else is priced at $20, that's a different story. That's something that we can maybe test out. But when we see that they're priced at almost 10 and this seller is priced at 8 and they're still winning the buy box, that is a clear sign that you want to stay away from that listing. So if you were to go and place a big order and you go and you hope that you're going to be able to sell this product, chances are you're not going to get any sales whatsoever. Now, while I have this listing here, a couple things that I want you to keep in mind that we didn't have on the other chart is also monthly sales estimate. So these are monthly sales according to Keepa, and this is a great feature that they added like almost a year ago, but this will give you a good idea of how much a product is selling. So this one is selling about 50,000 times per month, and then a couple of months ago it was selling about 20,000 times per month. When the listing has this is great. Now we know exactly how much this product is selling. And according to Keepa, this says that this is bought in the past month. This is not an estimate, so this is something you can really rely on. Another thing is the orange bar right here, and this is when you know that Amazon is on the listing. Like I said, this is really brief. I'll give you a resource for more in-depth lessons after this section. So this is another one, Amazon on the buy box. We also, and this is personal preference, and it all really comes down to your risk tolerance, is avoid listings where the brand is on the listing. So with this particular product, I'm going to show you a little pro tip here. If we go back to the life of the product, we can see that this seller wish trend right here is on this listing not only now, but if we go back even to 2023, we can see that they were on there as well. And if we go back all the way to the beginning, we can see that they were on there as well, even as far back as 2021. Now, wish trend is not this brand, right? Dear Claire's. But we want to see, why is this seller on this listing so much and they have never came off of the listing? For me, that is a clue to look a little bit deeper. So if we go right here, sold by, and we click on Wish Trend, we can see that Wish Trend is actually the brand owner of Dear Claire's, okay? So which is this product right here. So my personal preference when it comes to products like that and like this one, this is ClearStem. This is a more clear example right up front. You're going to see that they're on the listing right there. The reason I personally stay away from brands like this is because in the beginning of my journey, I did not stay away from them. And I kept running into issues. Sometimes it was 1 week after selling it. Sometimes it was 6 months after selling it. But almost every single time that I sold it besides a brand, at some point, they wanted to get me off of the listing and it was causing me a lot of headache. So for me and my risk tolerance, I decided that I don't want to sell next to brands. It is completely up to you, but this is just something that I urge you to think about when it comes to selling on Amazon, okay? So those are two different ways to see if the brand is on the listing. You can see them right here clearly. It matches the brand name, or you can just go and click on a seller name that you see that has always been on that listing, like we just went over with Wish Trend. Now the next one is something like this. This is an IP alert. So if you don't have the IP alert software, I have it linked down below in the description. You can get a discount, but that is a great software that I really recommend just because it will give you this alert flashing on the screen. And again, it goes back to my last point about risk tolerance. If your risk tolerance is very high, then you could possibly sell on listings like this and not have any issues. My risk tolerance is not that high when it comes to certain things on Amazon, which is why I do listen to softwares like this. I prefer IP Alert, the software, over something like SellerAmp. SellerAmp also has an IP feature, and I only listen to it when it is red like this. There's going to be a lot of times where it's not red and maybe it's yellow and it says there's an potential IP issue. I don't pay attention to those, and I like the IP Alert software. It's just been around the longest. It has the biggest database of people who have submitted issues on certain listings, which is why I listen to it the most. Again, I have a discount code down below in the description if you want to check it out. But if we go and we look at the Keepa graph right here, we can see that this particular brand has a big Keepa cliff. This is a big sharp drop that we will see on Keepa right here, where one moment to another, the seller count changes drastically from 13 sellers down to 3 sellers. If you see that, then it is a sign that the brand is filing IP complaints or kicking sellers off. And you can see that it never quite recovers. It always stays around 4 to 3 to 2 sellers. And this is a clear sign. You want to be very careful with this product. For me, this would be a sign I don't want to sell this product. But again, it comes down to you and your risk tolerance. Okay, so keep in mind these Keepa cliffs right here and the IP alert software. And remember, I personally only listen to the Seller Amp IP feature if it is red. Okay, so this last one on here is a price spike that I want you guys to watch. Price spikes is something that really destroys new sellers. And this is something that a lot of people have learned the hard way. I definitely learned this lesson the hard way. And it is when we see that, let's say we're looking at the chart like this, we can see that the price is significantly higher than it usually is. Okay, so we can see that the price is around $96. But if we go back for the last 3 months, we can see that the price before has only ever peaked out at 66. And there's been a lot of times where it's been down to 44, 45, 46. So the price is below 50% of what it currently is selling for. Now, if we were to go and jump in on this listing and we want to sell at the very peak and we're like, yeah, we're profitable here. But then according to the historical data, chances of it coming back down is very high. So if we go back even further, a year, in the last year, the price has never hit this $96 price point. As high as it went was 91, but most of the time it's hanging around $67 and $48, so significantly lower. If we go back even further, there's only been 1, maybe 2 other times in the last 5 years that this price has been at where it's at right now. But most of the time, historically, it's hanging around between the 66 mark and even down as low as $40, $49. The reason I tell you that is because you have to be very careful jumping in on price spikes, because if it has historically been at a lower price, the chances of it going back down to that price is very high. So just keep that in mind. Now, I briefly covered Keepa there, but I actually went and made a 45-minute Keepa video showing you in detail exactly how to use the software, so you can watch it after this video. I will leave it linked for you down below in the description. Now, you found a product, you've done your product analysis, and you determined, yes, this is a winning product, I'm ready to go. Before you purchase it, there's just one last quick step that I want you to keep in mind just to reduce your risk a little further. You want to attempt to list that product before you purchase it. So what this means is you're going to go to sellercentral.com, going to go to your dashboard, you're going to go to add a product, you're going to enter the ASIN, and you're going to see what Amazon tells you. Does Amazon tell you can sell this now? If they do, that's great. We can just sell it now. We can buy the inventory. We're good to go. Do they tell you that you can apply to get ungated? If they do, that's not bad. We know how to do that. Do they tell you that you can apply to get ungated? You click on the button and you're auto ungated. That's great. We can sell it now. We have nothing to worry about. But if you go and attempt to list this product and it comes up that you're hard gated, you don't qualify, it's restricted, whatever it may be, that's a problem. That means that we cannot sell it now and we cannot apply to get ungated, which means for now, in the foreseeable future, we cannot sell that product, which means we have no business buying it. It's a really shitty feeling when you find a profitable product, you buy it, you ship it to your house, you receive it, you're all excited, you go to list it so you can create a shipment, and then Amazon tells you that you cannot sell it, okay? So that's why you want to be proactive and reduce your risk a little further before you spend money on a product. Now let's talk about manufacturing margin, which is a very important part of the business. Most of the time, you're going to go and find inventory, and you need to find ways to make it more profitable or profitable in general. If you're hoping to go and find something at a retail price and then no cash back, no discounts, no manufacturing margin of any kind, and then you go and resell it on Amazon profitably, that's going to be a lot harder to do than if we were just to focus and learn how to manufacture margin. The first one is cash back. This is where you can use cash back Chrome extensions like Rakuten, Be Frugal, Top Cash Back, Retail Me Not to get yourself some more cash back when you're purchasing inventory. This can also help you with your starting point, which we talked about earlier. So if we go and see that Adidas has a 6% cash back, but we go and see that Puma has 15% cash back, we'd probably want to be better off looking into Puma because we already know we're getting a little bit more cash back. The second way to manufacture margin is discount gift cards. This one is really slept on, but I think it's just an underrated way to get an extra 5-10% discount on the products that you're already going to purchase just by using a discount gift card instead. So you can get these from a lot of different places. A couple common ones is raise.com and the gift card section within Top Cash Back, which is my personal favorite just because it's always available. It is guaranteed that you know that you're going to get this certain percentage off of of this store. Next one is coupon codes, which is pretty self-explanatory. You get a coupon code either from the website itself. It shows you, hey, use this coupon code for an extra 30% off. Or you can Google coupon codes for this specific store. Sometimes you find some luck. You can also use the Capital One extension that will find all of the coupon codes for you. And sometimes it hits on gold. And then you can also reach out to customer service and see if there's any coupon codes that they can give you. Now, these are all great on their own, but where the magic really happens is when you can start stacking these together. So let's say, for example, there is a site-wide sale on a website that we want to go source from. That's great. We're starting with the sale, but everyone else has access to it as well. But then on that same site-wide sale, we can get 15% cash back. And then we can get an additional 10% off by using a discount gift card. And then Capital One Shopping finds us another 10% coupon code. Well, now we went from sourcing from a sale that everyone has access to sourcing from that same sale, but now we have a 35% off that nobody else has. So you can see how manufacturing margin gives you a huge advantage over everybody else. It's all about creating the moat. That's what it really comes down to, creating your moat around your products so that not everyone is getting them at the same exact price as you. So if the price were to go down, we are still profitable. And if the price were to stay the same, we are more profitable than everyone else on the listing. Now let's talk about ungating. For those of you that don't know, ungating is just simply when Amazon has set a restriction on a specific category, subcategory, brand, or ASIN. Until you provide Amazon with an invoice, you cannot sell those products, brands, categories. But once you do provide them with an invoice, then you are ungated, which means now you can sell in that category or in that brand. And if you've been watching me for some time now, then you know that I'm a big fan of ungating. And that's because it's just the easiest way for you to manufacture opportunity on the platform, where you can come in and you can only sell one brand. It's going to be a lot harder for you to find inventory than if you were to come in and now you can sell 20 different brands. Now, if you're just starting out hearing me say that, you're probably like, yeah, it's a lot easier said than done. And I get it. Amazon has pulled the reins back a little bit because they were definitely overly lenient on ungating for a very long time. And now they're getting more and more strict on the process. But there are still ways around this, and there's still ways to get ungated. And it's not a super complicated process as long as you know how to do it. But when it comes to ungating, especially when you're new, you want to focus on sales first and ungating second. This is exactly what I did when I first started, because just like everybody watching, when I first started, I was gated in everything as well. So my strategy was, all right, I'm going to look into smaller, lesser known brands that I can go and source. I'm going to build up my sales there. And then I ended up building trust with Amazon just because my sales metrics were improving. And then as soon as I did that, then ungating became significantly easier. I've interviewed a lot of people on the channel, and every single time that I interview somebody, I make it a point to ask, did ungating get easier after you made your first set of sales? And unanimously, they all said yes. So you just have to get past that first initial phase. If you have some grit and some perseverance, it will pay off long term. Now, to briefly cover ungating, let's say there's a brand that you want to sell. You need to find a product for that brand. You then go and try to list it on your Amazon Seller Central account. It's going to tell you that you need to apply to get ungated, which means that you need to give them a current invoice that shows the purchase of 10 units. If you're doing arbitrage, you can use a supplier like Target. You go to Target, you buy 10 units of that product, and then you get that invoice from your Target account and you use it to get ungated on Amazon. And if they reject it, just make sure you stay persistent and you keep reapplying. Now, this is just a 10-second way of me explaining it to you very simply, but I actually went and made this video right here where I go in depth on ungating, exactly how to do it, exactly how to respond when you're getting rejected. You will become an expert at ungating as soon as you watch this video. So I want you to watch that video after you finish watching this video. I will leave it linked down below in the description. Next, how to avoid order cancels. Now, this is one thing about arbitrage that is very annoying. Everybody's going to run into this at one point or another, but you're going to do product research. You're going to go and purchase this inventory, and the site is either going to start canceling your orders or they're going to just restrict your account. So even if you were to just buy one unit, it's going to cancel the order automatically. And this is usually due to getting flagged as possible fraud from a website. But sometimes with sites like Target, you can get flagged as a reseller. So I'm going to tell you how to get around that because it is a very annoying part of the business. But before you do that, you need to ask yourself, okay, my orders are getting canceled from this site. Is it worth going through the hassle to figure out how to get around this? So is the opportunity there? And if it's not, then you don't even need to waste time trying to figure out how to get around the order cancel for that specific site. But let's say the opportunity is great. Like there's a lot of profitable inventory. It's a great brand. You're making a lot of money. It sells really well. And maybe it's not even super common on Amazon. There's not a lot of competitors on this specific brand. Then yeah, the opportunity is pretty big there. So you definitely want to figure out, how can I get around this order cancel? Because if you do, chances are not everyone's going to take the time or effort to figure that out. And if you do, then you can capitalize on it. But a couple of different ways that you can get around order cancels is that you start buying small orders. Like I said earlier, most of the time you're getting flagged for fraud. So if you're getting flagged for fraud, if you start placing smaller and smaller orders in the beginning, essentially it's almost like you kind of build trust with the system so that you're not getting flagged for fraud when you then purchase more inventory. So that's one way. Another way is PayPal, Google Pay, Apple Pay, stuff like that is really good for getting around order cancels. I think you're just more verified as a consumer when you're using those kinds of services, maybe because they've already checked that you're actual human and not somebody trying to commit fraud. And then the last one, and this one works extremely well, but I only use it on last resorts, is just reach out to customer service. This works extremely well. So for example, I got flagged for being a reseller from Target, and then I got flagged as fraud from a site called PetFlow. Now from Target, this happened a while back. I was buying a whole bunch of inventory, and then I was getting the inventory, and all of a sudden every single order that I would place was getting canceled. It didn't matter if it was a video game, if it was a toy, if it was grocery, did not matter. What didn't matter if I was buying 1 unit or 10 units, everything was getting canceled. So then I reached out to customer service. I just emailed them on the live chat, and then I asked what was going on. They're like, oh, you've been flagged as a reseller. So then we go back and forth, and eventually I get that lifted, right? They remove it for me, and I haven't had an order canceled from Target since then. And with PetFlow, I remember I only bought like 15 or 20 units, but it was my first order. And I was just waiting for the inventory. It was supposed to arrive pretty quick, and it never arrived. So then I reached out to customer service, and they said, oh, they canceled your order because you were flagged for fraud. Let me just remove it real quick. And that was it. It was like a 2-minute conversation. I didn't have to say anything, and they just removed it, and we were good to go. So this works really, really well. Really obvious one, but a lot of people avoid it. I think they just don't want to have to talk to somebody on the phone. So don't avoid this one. Great way to avoid order cancels. Now, there are a lot of different ways that you can avoid order cancels. I gave you 3 because I think these 3 work very, very well, but it's all about troubleshooting. Try different things. Think outside the box. And if you ever need help, you can always reach out to me. All right, let's talk about shipping, prepping, and prep centers. Now, one big advantage that Arbitrage has over, let's say, wholesale or even private label is just simply speed. We can get inventory in and out significantly faster than if we were to go do a wholesale order, if we were to ship directly to Amazon, if we were to ship directly to the prep center, because Amazon is handling so many more shipments, your prep center is handling so many more shipments, but you are just handling your own. So you can receive the inventory, prep it, ship it, pack it, and get it out the door same day if you move quickly, which is something that you're not going to get anywhere else. So when it comes to prepping and shipping, because of that, I do recommend you just take a little bit of time to learn this skill and have some experience in it, because it's going to give you a lot of confidence, which people overlook in this business. Just having confidence with shipping, FBA, FBM, all of those things is going to allow you to capitalize on more opportunity than somebody else. So let's say I have no experience with FBM and I go source, and there's a really good opportunity if I were to jump on it and fulfill it FBM. But because I've never done it before, I am more likely to just let that opportunity slip because I don't have the confidence in getting it out fast enough. And the same thing applies with shipping. So if you just take a little bit of time to learn how to ship products to FBA and learn how to ship products FBM, it's going to be well worth your time. And it doesn't mean you're going to do this forever. Okay. You're just doing this to gain some experience. And yes, your first shipment is going to take you way longer than your 10th, your 20th, your 50th shipment, but that's because you've never done it before. And that's why it's important to learn those little skills and get that experience wherever you can, because it will be beneficial down the road. But there's going to come a point where your prep time and you fulfilling all of this and you shipping it all out is taking too much time away from your sourcing time, where that is what's making you the money. And when you get to that point, you need to use a prep center. Now, when you're looking for a prep center, you want to make sure that it's in a tax-free state. With Arbitrage, you're still getting charged sales tax when you check out of a retail site. But if you're shipping the products to a tax-free state, then those sales tax disappear. So let me give you an example. Let's say I buy a product that's $100. If I ship it to myself here in California, the sales tax is 7.25%. So I will pay $107.25 for that product. But if I ship it to my prep center, I will save those $7.25. Not only do I save the money, I also don't have to prep the items myself, and I can just continue sourcing. So you can see how this would be very beneficial. Next is building expertise. I am a big fan of spending time in specific pockets on Amazon that will allow you to build expertise in that space. So when I started selling a lot of shoes, I had no experience whatsoever. So I couldn't tell you, hey, hey, this is the kind of product that you need to look for. This is the kind of margin you need to look for because of returns. This is the shoes that you need to kind of laser in on because it's a more common set. It's going to be able to sell a lot more consistently overall. I had no idea, right? So over time, the more time that you spend in that category, you can start to identify, okay, this shoe's profitable, this shoe's profitable. Just by looking at the price, looking at the sale, you're able to speed up product sourcing significantly faster. Same thing in video games. There's a lot of major titles on video games that I'm like, if I can just see the price, I already know it's profitable. I already know Amazon's not on these listings, and I already know that competition is at a certain level, and I'm like, I know I can compete at this price. So building expertise is super, super important. It doesn't mean that you don't branch out and sell beauty products or grocery products or all of these other products. It's just you kind of have your hub, you spend some time there, you develop some expertise, and then you can add more to your expertise over time. I think this works out really well for the people that just pick a niche and try to stick to it for a little bit longer than the average person. This next one is extremely important. This is the organization of your arbitrage purchases. This is the difference from you having a whole lead bank of items that you've purchased in the past. You know how many items you bought. You know what prices you got them for. You know exactly where they are. You can always come in and replan those items that you've purchased in the past, or you've been selling them for a while and you can just go deeper and deeper. And this is where you have a bunch of replans in your inventory, but you also can grow more consistently on the platform doing the arbitrage model. Or on the other hand, you have the complete rookie method where you're just always on the hunt for the next 1, 5, 10 different products if you're lucky. And then once those sell out, you're on the hunt for the next 5 to 10 products. This is going to lead you to being frustrated. You're spinning your wheels. You never see how this can become a consistent, sustainable business because you're not organized at all. You never refer back to what you've purchased before. You don't keep good organization of your purchases. And this is massive. This is a massive thing that you need to do. This is one thing that Ferris did in our interview. He talked about this, just being more organized with his purchases and having the confidence to go deeper because he already has his own data to go off of is one thing that allowed him to 4x his business within 6 weeks of being in my mentorship program. So this is a very important part of your business. Don't overlook it. All you need to do, and you can use SellerAmp to do this, is you just export the data from the purchases that you're making as you make them. You make sure you add a link to where you got them and add some notes like, okay, I got this on this specific sale. It was a 10% off or 20% off, whatever it may be. You add some details so that you remember, and then you can always check back and be like, okay, how did I get that profitably? Oh, I had this sale going on. Oh, I used this coupon code. Oh, I used this or that, right? The organization of your arbitrage purchases is the difference from you always being on the hunt or you having a consistent, sustainable business that you can grow long-term. Now, like I said earlier, I think it's really important to know how to do FBA and FBM. FBM is a hack. It's a cheat code for you to be able to grow faster and flip your money significantly faster on the platform. And because of that, I want you to watch this video next, where I will show you how to go from beginner to expert with FBM within one video. So I want you to watch that video next. And if you're tired of jumping around from YouTube video to YouTube video on this endless hamster wheel of content, never really able to grow a business exactly how you envisioned it, I want you to check out that first link in the description. This is where we've helped over 1,200 people just like you and I build this business and make it profitable. So if you're interested, first link in the description. I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you in the next one.